Alright, so in front of me is something I was genuinely excited to try out, a glass gaming mousepad. This one's from Llano and it's their premium glass mousepad. It looks and feels nothing like your usual cloth pad. It's a big slab of micro-etched glass with a rubber base that instantly feels premium. But here's the truth, glass mousepads aren't for everyone. This video is sponsored by Llano, but everything you're about to hear is my honest take after actually using it for both gaming and daily work. So let's talk about what makes this pad unique, who it's for, and what you should know before buying. The first thing that stands out is the glide. Your mouse just flies across the surface. It's almost frictionless compared to cloth. For FPS games like Valorant or CS2, flick shots feel snappy and consistent, and the etched glass adds just enough resistance so it doesn't feel slippery in a bad way. Tracking feels smooth, and most importantly, it's consistent every time you sit down. Unlike cloth pads that wear unevenly, glass stays identical from day 1 to day 100. And surprisingly, it's priced really well. At $60, it's way cheaper than most premium glass or hybrid pads that can go for $100 plus. And when I first tried it, I thought glass was honestly just a gimmick, but once you feel that speed and consistency, it starts to make sense why people swear by it. Now, I wanted to see if that performance actually held up in real games and daily use, because a mousepad that feels fast doesn't always mean it performs well long term. So I spent a few weeks testing this across a bunch of different situations, long gaming sessions, editing marathons, and even light design work, just to see where it excels and where it struggles. And honestly, this is where the story gets interesting, because the more I used it, the more I started to notice small differences that add up. That's the thing about glass. It's not just a performance upgrade, it's a totally different experience. In competitive shooters, the glide really shines. Quick flicks feel effortless, and micro adjustments in games like Fortnite felt smoother since you're not fighting friction. For competitive players, that consistency can be a genuine edge. And since glass doesn't absorb sweat or dust, the feel never changes no matter how long you game. If you've ever played on a worn out cloth pad and felt that weird slowdown in certain areas, you'll immediately notice the difference here. It's like having a fresh pad every single day. But here's the thing, this speed completely changes your playstyle. You start relying more on fine wrist movements instead of arm swipes because the glide is so light. Once you get used to it, aiming actually feels more precise, but that first adjustment period is real. I overshot my aim a few times in Valorant early on, but after a few days, I found myself hitting flicks more consistently than before. That's when I realized the Llano pad isn't just fast, it's predictable. You know exactly how your mouse will move every time, and that predictability gives you confidence in game. You stop second guessing your inputs because you know the pad will respond the same way every single time. Outside of gaming, I tested it for editing and productivity as well. Moving across a large 4K timeline or dragging files across dual monitors felt faster and smoother. It gives you this instant response feeling with every small movement, like your mouse is an extension of your hand. If you use programs like Premiere Pro or Photoshop, this speed can actually make scrubbing and dragging assets quicker. But there is a trade-off. You lose that tiny bit of resistance that helps with pixel perfect control. So for designers or editors, you might need to lower your sensitivity or DPI to regain that precision. Once you fine-tune those settings though, it becomes a very natural workflow. And before we move on, let me rehook you with this because it's not all upside. For as good as this feels to use, there are a few important drawbacks to know about that could make or break the experience. The first one is noise. Even though it's quieter than you might think, you can still hear the glide depending on your mouse skates. PTFE skates, for example, tend to sound softer than ceramic ones. If you work or game in a quiet room, you'll notice it, though it's nowhere near distracting once you get used to it. The second one is comfort. Glass is rigid. There's no cushion like cloth, so long sessions can feel tougher on your wrist if you don't use a wrist rest. A small gel pad or wrist rest can fix this easily, but it is something to consider. And if you're new to glass pads, expect an adjustment period. It feels so fast that for the first few days, you might actually overshoot your aim until your muscle memory adapts. But here's where it wins back some major points: build quality and long-term value. And this is where Llano's pads surprised me the most. The Llano glass pad is scratch resistant, waterproof, and effortless to clean. The rubber base locks it in place even during intense gameplay, and its size gives enough space for low sensitivity players without being overkill. It's heavy, which actually helps it stay planted. I've used lighter cloth pads that shift slightly during fast swipes. This one doesn't move at all. That stability helps maintain accuracy, especially in competitive games where small shifts can throw off your aim. Durability is where it crushes cloth pads. There's no fraying, no sweat stains, no slow spots, just wipe it down and it's brand new again. I've gone through multiple cloth pads in 2 years, and this one will easily outlast them all. The only real risk is physical damage, like dropping it or hitting it hard, but under normal use, it's built to last for years. The tempered glass feels solid, and Llano even rounds the edges slightly so it's smooth to the touch and won't dig into your forearms. Cleaning is another underrated benefit. With a cloth pad, once it starts collecting dust or oil, it's basically impossible to get it back to how it felt new. Here, you can just use use a microfiber cloth or a damp towel, and it looks perfect again in seconds. That's a huge plus if you like keeping your setup clean, or if you tend to eat at your desk, spills just wipe off instantly. So now let's look at it from value, because price ties directly into value, and this is where the llano pad really wins. At $60, you're getting something that could outlast 2 or 3 premium cloth pads. It's not the cheapest option, of course, but for performance and lifespan, the price to value ratio is excellent. If you think about how many times you've replaced a cloth pad due to wear or grime, this actually saves money long term. The fact that it also elevates the look of your setup is just a bonus as well. So should you buy it? Honestly, it depends on what you value most. If you're a competitive FPS player chasing speed, consistency, and long-term durability, this pad delivers on all fronts. And if you're curious about glass but don't want to drop $100+ llano's $60 price point makes it a great entry option. But if you prioritize comfort or are used to softer resistance, a quality cloth pad still makes sense. At the end of the day, the llano glass mousepad isn't for everyone. But for players who want pure performance and a pad that will last years without degrading, it absolutely lives up to the hype. It's sleek, consistent, easy to maintain, and surprisingly affordable for what it offers. For me, it's the kind of upgrade that subtly improves your setup every single day, one of those pieces of gear you don't realize how much you appreciate until you go back to anything else. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.